When I was young, I was always taught, even if you can't do good to your neighbors, don't do evil. Recently, I came across a story which gave a deep insight on that saying. And here is the story. Hello all, this is Alvin, storyteller, and here is your story. A long time ago, there was a widow who had two sons. These two sons were so good at poetry that their poem on motherhood won great accolades in a state-run competition. But at home, these two sons spoke just one line to their mother. Don't you know? If the tea becomes a little cold, they yelled, don't you know how to make tea? If the food has an extra pinch of salt, they yelled, don't you know how to cook food? If they come tired from work and the food is not ready, they yelled, don't you know that we come tired from work and the food has to be ready? It was as if they lived their life on a fault-finding mission, and even the slightest mistake by their mother received harsh treatment. Now, these two sons got married. Their newlywed wives quickly followed the examples of their husbands and began their fault-finding mission with great earnest. And sometimes they were even more harsher than their husbands. Receiving this ill treatment day in and day out, the poor widow had sleepless nights and lived in total fear as to when these four fault-finders would come and catch her. Earlier, she had a friend with whom she shared everything, but now that friend is no more. With no one to share her emotions with, she began to bottle up all her emotions. Day by day, her ridicules kept on increasing, and she had to stuff more and more emotions into herself. Soon, it reached to such an extent that her belly began to expand. With every ridicule that was meted out at her, her belly expanded more and more, and soon she became really fat. Watching her become mysteriously fat, her first son said, "Hey, look at mother, she's becoming like a real big fat pot." Hearing that, the second son replied, "I wonder what mother is eating. Maybe I should give that to my wife." The second son wife, hearing this, replied, I don't want to become fat. Maybe we should cut down on mother's food. Maybe that's what's making her fat. Hearing this, everyone laughed, while mother's belly became a little more fat. One day, all the four fault-finders went out for a holy pilgrimage. The poor widow locked the house and went out for a walk. She walked and walked and walked and mysteriously reached a dilapidated house that had no roof. She was somehow moved to step in, and the loneliness of that house plunged her heart so much that she looked straight at the wall that was before her and told all the grievances caused by her first son. Unable to bear the weight of the grief, the first wall crashed down. Then she looked at the second wall and told all the grief caused by the first son's wife, and soon that wall too, boom. Then she looked at the third and the fourth wall and told all the grief caused by her second son and the second son's wife. Unable to bear the weight of her grief, both the walls too crushed. Standing in the ruins, the widow felt light, and she became thin as she was before. She then stepped out of that dilapidated house, and finally, after many months, many years, she had peace in her heart. Maybe this is why we are always taught, even if you can't do good to your neighbors, don't do evil, because grief caused by our evil actions are strong enough to bring down a mighty wall. Thank you for listening to us. This story is an adaptation of a classic folk tale from Tamil Nadu, found in the book Folk Tales from India, collected and edited by A.K. Ramanujam. If you like this story, do subscribe below, and if you wish to have storytelling events at your place, do get in touch with us at info@reginapasses.com, and also like our Facebook page fb.com/rpzoc.